Hey guys, in this video I want to talk about some of the best fathers in video games, mostly because of two reasons. The first one, because the Father's Day is around the corner, or at least in the USA it's on the third Sunday of June, but also as tribute to my grandfather, who recently passed away. Beware that some fathers in this list will be a bit unorthodox, and some others a bit predictable. Without further ado, let's begin with our number 7. In the 7th entry, I wanna place Zephyr from Tales of Arise. I know this one may be a bit controversial because he can be seen as a nobody, someone with several death flags and so on, but I will say that the game never really tried to place his death as something to be surprised. His circumstance was definitely used as a catalyst to push Alphen and his team, and perhaps remembered a bit too much. But here's something I liked a lot, was the speech he delivered in those last moments of life. As he's asked to talk about his mistakes. Of course this question had another direction, but Zephyr answers something that lots of prideful people will never be able to say. His mistake was neglecting his family, losing his friends, wife and son, never being able to tell them how important they were for him. Those words carry a heavy weight, and it takes a lot of courage to tell them. I mean, there are many out there who turn sour and justify their attitude towards the people who are actually important to them. For me, Zephyr deserves the 7th spot, as he's able to say it to his son, maybe not face to face, but clear enough for him to understand. In the 6th spot, I would like to place Bowser. Yep, the evil turtle gets the 6th place because despite kidnapping Princess Peach a lot of times, being bossy with his subjects, and very much torture our plumbers with many trials, Bowser is an excellent father, who cares about his son. Yeah, Bowser Jr. may be a little rascal, but at the end of the day, he's still a child. Bowser may be a bit busy with his corporate work, but we have seen how he takes time to listen to his son, he's considerate about his playing sessions, and takes the time to play with him. Yeah, he may be quite evil, but we cannot deny that he's an excellent father, as he tries to do the best for Bowser Jr. In the 5th spot we can find Grail, from Fire Emblem, one of the best fathers in the series. In his youth, he was known as Gawain, one of the 4 horsemen of Dying. Grail has the 5th spot in this list because despite being in several conflicts along his life, he was the kind of person to take others under his wing. For example, Titania, who tested his might in combat. Titania lost, but asked Grail if he could train her. Needless to say that he accepted. Titania also saw how this beast in combat turned into the most caring father once he arrived home with his wife and son. That fierce atmosphere around him vanished, as if nothing had happened. Unfortunately, not everything is bright in this story because Grail committed the mistake of taking the Leram medallion, turning himself into a mindless beast. Unable to control himself, he took his wife's life. Fortunately, she was able to take the medallion out of him. Regretting what happened, Grail decided to cut his right hand tendons, as well as hiring Volk to finish his life in case something similar happened in the future. Regardless of these traumatic events, he raised Ike and Mist the best he could. His days will be counted, but we cannot deny that he deserves this spot on this list. In number 4 we have Rust, from Horizon Zero Dawn. Rust was an auto hunter born in the year 2990, hunter who successfully completed the tribe's proving rite, becoming into a brave. Time later having a child with a girl named Alana. Up until that moment we could say that he had a good life. Unfortunately, things turned sour when a band of outlanders took Alana and his daughter hostage. Many braves tried to save the hostages, but they were not able to do it. The outlanders took the hostages out of the sacred land and finished their lives. For the Nora, leaving the sacred land was considered taboo, and the outlanders knew that, thinking that they wouldn't be chased further. Rust had nothing else to lose, so he decided to go under the ritual to become a Death Seeker, knowing really well that he wouldn't be able to come back. That is how he tracked down the outlanders around distant lands like Meridia, the Forbidden West, Ban-Ur, the Utaru, and some other places. He succeeded, but at a heavy cost. Wounded, he returned to the Sacred Land, but without crossing the border, as he knew he had nothing left. For his fortune, a brave woman helped him, committing taboo in the process, but thanks to that, Rose would live another day. The matriarchs didn't like this, but healed him nonetheless, giving him the chance to live in the sacred land as an outcast. He agreed and built a homestead far from the settlements, where he lived in solitude. Time later, our heroine will be born in an unknown way. This didn't sit that well for the matriarchs because they value motherhood, but they had no idea who was the mother, sending her with Rost to be raised as an outcast. Rost happily accepted and cared for her, even to the point where he stepped out of bounds to give her a name, Eloy. In the following scenes, we can see how Rost taught her the ways of the tribe as best as he could, despite his situation. It was not an easy task because she was an outcast. Things escalate as time passes, where Eloy demands to know who is her mother. Rost is not able to answer that, but trained her for 12 years so she could take on the proving, and on every moment he will share a piece of wisdom. On the proving, things went sour as the shadow card appeared. Eloy tried to hold her ground, but got taken by surprise. Rose confronted Heelys in a fierce fight where we can see how they struggle as they are capable hunters, but this confrontation ended with Rose getting wounded and Eloy losing consciousness. In a last struggle, Rose gathers strength to reach Eloy, pushing her over the cliff with these lasting words:
"Survive."
While not the biological father, Rose definitely deserves the 4th place. In number 3, I would like to place Harry Mason. Here we are talking about the main character of a well-known franchise, Silent Hill. As the previous 2 contenders, he had to live some hard circumstances, but I place him higher because, despite losing his wife, he was the kind of father who would jump into hell to save his daughter, and that is pretty much what he had to do. Something I like so much is that we are not talking about someone who's versed on combat, an officer, or something like that. We are talking about a writer who's clumsy and terrified about assassins and kidnappers, a common father in his world who had the misfortune of passing through Silent Hill. While many would definitely try to look after their child in such a situation, not many would go into hell and survive to tell the tale, because Silent Hill is the place that it's going to put your biggest horrors in front of you. We are not merely talking about demons or the classic survival horror, something that the average human being would be able to steel themselves and put up a fight, but pure psychological fear. For jumping into hell, beating the shit out of a god, and coming back with his child, Harry deserves the 3rd place. In the 2nd entry, I want to talk about another father who had to go through a psychotic hell in order to save his daughter. And nope, I don't mean Sebastian, he had quite the trip, but here I want to talk about the executioner. Pedro's introduction happens after the main game events, when Mobius creates a second stem to test how Rubik was able to transfer his mind. This is where several test subjects were connected to this machine, and along the subjects, Marta. Pretty much forced to get into the machine, Pedro is sent into this hell with a simple task at hand, task with terrible consequences if he wasn't able to accomplish on time. He has to kill every rogue subject, as his daughter's mind is deteriorating at a fast pace. Along the journey, Pedro finds multiple pages of her daughter's diary, and it is easy to see that she is starting to lose her memories. At first, it was thought to be just because of the rogue subjects, but down the line, he is told that his presence is also affecting her, having her last objective at hand, which is kill himself. This of course brings multiple doubts because dying inside of the stem is pretty much dying in real life. In this last confrontation, we can see that every time the Dark Executioner receives damage, Pedro also receives damage. So it becomes into a fight of wills, grip his hammer and not hesitate. This ending was so touching for me, because after killing himself inside of the stem, there is a scene where we can see how Marta is grabbing his father's hand. For another intense living hell, Pedro deserves the 2nd place in this list. After all the previous contenders, who could be up here in number 1? The best father comes from a game that could have passed under the radar if it hadn't received an important award back in 2016. One of the few games that I definitely consider high art. Along the journey we are going to follow Ryan and Amy, where they have to take care of their son. That is actually the whole purpose, provide the necessary care for their baby in face of the inevitable outcome. The game title is That Dragon, Cancer. Whatever you do, the ending would be the same. What Ryan and Amy have to do is take care of it, love it, and do the best they can. The argument is unusual. The story is raw. This game makes sense once we get to know that this is a documentary of Ryan and Amy's experience back in 2010. And I consider it here because out of all the fathers we have seen in this list, Ryan showed us what it means to be a caring father despite the circumstances. While there are no demons, beasts, or moments where he had to put himself in the line of fire, he had to live a raw and brutal experience.
It was not the story that we wanted to tell, but you chose to love us through our grief by being willing to stop and to listen and to not turn away. To let my son Joel's life change you because you chose to see him and to experience how we loved him. And I have hope that when we are all willing to see each other, not for just who we want to be, but who we are and who we're meant to be, this act of love and this act of grace can change the world. Thank you.
Thanks for everything you did, grandfather. Everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.